That's my CARPONEL 473. So I'm gonna, and that's just so as people come in, they can get this, and then I'll trigger that for you.
Oh, that was wonderful.
I gave myself a whole half an hour to do it, and it took me 5 minutes.
Yeah. Did you get it for free?
I'm getting it for free through my
Verizon.
son-in-law and daughter, who are getting it for free through Verizon
Yes.
for a year.
Yes. In case you didn't know, Verizon is giving it to you for free.
There.
If
Yeah.
I'll just take that. I'm good with everything.
I think I'm doing fine, but thank you, Jody. I appreciate it.
So I was going to
So she
Put
can
down
do the last one.
the family as a Christmas gift,
Took
but
two
instead I'm
cents
just
a piece.
depositing
Much everyone for coming. I really appreciate it. In full disclosure and candor, I was originally slated to do a different topic, and it had to do with creating assignments under deadline so that students, in the minute class started till it completed, they worked in a group environment and they sort of felt the pressure of deadline work. We changed gears because I thought that was a little discipline specific for the assignment that I had created, and I have stumbled upon Poll Everywhere, and I have used it quite readily across all of my classes, and I really enjoy it. And the thing that I like most about it is that it is really quite user-friendly. So just to back up a little bit, what I'd like you to do, if you'd be willing, either on your smartphone or on your laptop, it's totally up to you. The address is Poll Everywhere. there's no S in poll, which is sometimes where I have screwed it up when students have tried to download it. But it's available on all devices, should not be a problem. You just go ahead and download it, and we're going to actually use it in sort of an example and demonstration here coming up. But I'm gonna back up just a bit and tell you a little bit about what it looks like. So if you were to go to the website, this is what you would find, polleverywhere.com, and you can. I took the screen grab of myself already logged in. But what you do is you create an account, and what works very nicely is that this particular software allows you to pull both. You can attach an identity, you can have students sign in and create an account, and where you would be able to then track their responses, or for my purposes, I strictly do it through anonymous polling. This is something I use at the beginning of class, at the end of class, in the middle of a lecture, to either figure out where we are from a comprehension standpoint. If they've had a reading, I like to pepper it with 3 or 4 questions on the front end, or possibly at the end of a discussion to see how much information they managed to acquire or retain. And the thing that I find really, really interesting about it is that I've found it's the best way to engage students in material that might be a little bit sensitive, controversial, especially if I want their opinion. It's one thing to say, hey, what do you think about this? But it's very different when you give them a device that they can actually type a response to. Now, without fail, you will get some outlier responses that, again, I think it really depends on the personality of the instructor and the class. You can use them, you can laugh them off, you can get a little strict about it. I've never had a problem with it because most of my polling I do relates to issues in the media, and so I can find a way to sort of tie it back. With Poll Everywhere, you can have a free account for educators, and what it does is it limits you to 40 responses. I don't have a class that's larger than 35 students. I don't know how many we have on campus that are in excess of 40. I don't think it would be many. My response to that would be, let's say you have 43 students in the class. I think if you're getting 40 responses registered into your device and they're anonymous, they don't know whether their response has necessarily been registered. And to a certain point, if you had, let's say we had 50, I'm thinking of in Carver, you could say, okay, all of you are A's, all of you are B's. I'd like the A's to answer this question, please, so that everybody could feel like their response is being counted. So again, if you wouldn't mind, or if you haven't, this is the web application that you can download, and you can do it either on a laptop or on your smartphone. So I thought if you're willing, you would be willing to participate with me a little bit in a polling situation. So what you can do is, please, you will notice that once you've downloaded the app and opened it, all you need to do is to join an existing poll. And the existing poll would be Lisa Carpinell, not Full Carpinelli, that's the account name they've given me, 473. And so when you type that in, what should pop up for you is this exact question on your smartphone. Are we getting that? Does everybody have that in some capacity? Any issues? Okay. So how frequently do you use polling in your class? I use this program. I was always a clicker person. I didn't like the Turning Point software, but I'm a big clicker person. I think it's a great way to get a feel for what's going on in the class. You can set up your polls so that you have a correct answer that will reveal itself, just like you could in Turning Point software with clickers. Or this one is clearly, this is just his opinion. There's no right or wrong answer, so we can get a feel for how people are responding. And as you can see, you can change your answers. You'll see here in the corner, I've configured my questions in such a way that it answers to this poll are anonymous, so the students are sort of assured privacy in that regard. If I were to configure the poll so that I could later download the data and figure out who said what from a learning standpoint, I would tell my students in advance I was doing that. I've not ever used this software to do that. Okay, so here's where we are. Sometimes, rarely, never, and I would be an awkward person. Here's the next question. Now, this is a different sort of question that you can ask. You are asked to type your answer, and you will see it pop up in a dialog box. So what's going to happen is, how do you feel about students using smartphones in your class? And go ahead and please respond with some type of phrasing, whatever it may be. So as you can see, as we're going through the program, you can sort of ask students any question you want. For example, if you have a class that isn't particularly talkative, you are more than welcome at the beginning of class to say, okay, questions about last night's chapter. What's one topic that you'd like us to spend a little bit more time diving into today? Or is there something that was difficult for you to understand? And it's all in real time, which is kind of exciting, and students sort of enjoy this sort of real-time information gathering, and they can put stuff up there. Granted, someone always texts me an eggplant. I'm just telling you that in advance. And it happens, and everybody laughs, and I just brush it off. At times it's actually been relevant. I'm going to show you a situation where it was. But this is a great way to sort of drive conversation if you don't have a classroom full of students that are really eager to talk, and you can sort of get them to give some feedback. So and I agree, all of these are very legitimate. And at the end, I'm going to kind of tell you how I deal with cell phone policy in class, because this directly impacts the type of polling that you're doing. So here's another one that you can create, which is just a feeling test. And what you can do is you can, which best describes your feeling about the end of the semester? I've asked students, how do they feel? How confident do they feel about the material in Chapter 7? How are you feeling about your first week as a Simpson first-year student? You can make it as specific as you like. And what you're able to do is wherever the survey person punches the face is where it registers and records the impression. So we've got 4 that are super happy, 2, we've got someone kind of sad, we might get a super sad, whatever it is. But again, one more way to engage students and bring them sort of into a conversation or a discussion. I have asked students particularly how they feel about something, and this is a great way to get that. So the next slide I'm going to show you is not one that you can participate in, but rest assured I've left you one. This is one of my favorites, is the word cloud. And so I did this the second week of school to my introduction to mass communication class. I have probably 18 first years, and then we go all the way up. I have 1 or 2 seniors that need to take it for an embedded skill. But here is one screen grab of what they responded to. So how would you describe it so far? The larger the word, the more people put that word in. And clearly it's a dynamic environment, because as someone sees the word exquisite, they might decide, oh yeah, I really like that. I'm gonna go along with that. But the way the program works, the more frequently a word is typed, the bigger and bolder it is. But it will shift in real time, and I will show you that. But I think it's neat. Oof, exhausting, insane, nuts, salty was one of my favorites. Overwhelming, concussed. I've had a fair number of those students in class this semester. Here's another one, a little bit more provocative. I asked students what single word describes the way you believe women are portrayed in the media. So this is a great way to get somebody to respond who might not otherwise contribute to the dialogue. Fake, unrealistic, queens, over-sexualized. There's, of course, your viscose, which again, right? Sexualized, unreal, curvy, unappreciated. So it can be a really interesting way to get students to throw out some ideas that maybe you wouldn't otherwise touch on if you just called directly on someone. Judy, what's your feeling? Nikki, what's your feeling? So to show you how it works, please, how would you describe how you feel about working at Simpson College? So as the words come in, they will change. So it's kind of interesting, and this is one I have thoroughly enjoyed, especially in topics that I teach. You could ask students, how do they feel about the impeachment proceedings? How do they feel about this particular current event? Again, I've used it to gauge their feelings on being a first-year student, second-year student, senior year. Are you anxious about how confident are you in finding a job when you graduate? in any way, shape, or form that might be a little bit more of an organized way to start discussion. So I'd like to touch on two more things, and then I will answer any questions that you have. I see the biggest problem with this is the use of smartphones in the classroom. So here is my policy that I put into my syllabus that I actually am pretty strict about. I don't mind the use of cell phones if it's very deliberate when I ask them to do it. So what I will say is, please get out your cell phones, and I will absolutely say, please put away your cell phones. And if I have a student who decides to go against that, then I very consciously and let them know that I've marked them absent for the day. And if it's a continuing trend, I will bring in other people to the conversation. I wish I didn't have to, but I do think the polling is worth it. But can I stop them from being on Snapchat when I've got their phones out taking a poll? No, I can't do it. So inherently, they're checking their feed as they're participating in the poll. It's one of the byproducts of this process. And the same thing with their laptop. Like, I can't tell if you're Amazon shopping, and to a certain extent, there's only so much I can do, and I would rather have the technology and get some of this information than to forsake it and have a zero technology classroom. And if all of you have different cell phone policies, I would love to hear what they are. I do ask for the take it out, and I ask for the put it away. And actually, JC came to visit my class today, and I had one student who I found being very disrespectful, and she got marked absent when the class was over, for sure. Any other questions? I guess what I would like to show you really quickly is if you go to the actual website, here is the website, and here are my polls as they're stored. You can see all of, I mean, it's really small print, I apologize, but here are all the questions that I've generated over time that relate to the Me Too movement. I ask about Harvey Weinstein, media use, video games. I mean, I've just created a bank of them that I can call on and put into a poll sort of anytime I want. You can embed these into a PowerPoint slide, into a Google slide, into Keynote, or you can do it on the website itself. All you have to do is bring it full screen, and you've got the same activity, and it allows you to, you can show responses as they're happening, you can close them out, you can clear responses and get a fresh poll to begin with. So honestly, and I will tell you this, I am no Amanda Gibson. Hey, Amanda. This is not something that I would take hours to do. It is a very user-friendly website. It is very intuitive. To build a poll is very easy. I would happily come help you do it. It would take 6 minutes to help you figure out how to create this type of poll. And there are several other polls that you can do. I just began to scratch the surface. If I go to, let me see here. Let's create a poll. Here are the options for questions that you can create. I just grabbed a couple for examples. Here's the multiple choice question. You can decide if an answer is correct or incorrect. You can do the word cloud. You can prompt people with questions and answers. There are so many different, here's an icebreaker format that you can use. It's really nice. And they've actually got a blog that are tips for educators in ways that you can use all of the software to its full advantage. Any questions?
Do you have an example of something you would do to, like you said, kind of reading comprehension? Just to...
So I have done, let me see if I've got somewhere in my poll. Yes, I think when I did the Me Too movement, we had a chapter in our textbook that started off, it had to do with sort of who broke the Weinstein story and how that material was covered. Let's see if I have it. Oh, I'm sorry, I have mass shootings. There's one. You know, how many people need to be impacted by a bullet for something to be considered a mass shooting? And there is actually there is a right answer, which is 4. And so I will do that as a way to sort of gauge material. I ask students what the Weinstein effect is, and that has a very clear answer to it. So you sort of create the right answer and build it forward.
So when you go in here, it's like when you pull
Sure.
this up, you can see the data that's there.
That's
You
what was
can
from the last poll.
reset it.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
that
absolutely.
You can use it year from year.
Oh, so here's all I would do: clear responses.
Okay.
And now I can
Now
start
it's ready
fresh.
for your next
Now
class
it's
if you want to use
ready
it
for my
from
next class.
semester to semester.
So Lisa, you're asking this because you had them read something and
Yes.
they should know that it's for,
Yes.
or you just want to know what they think?
Nope, this one I actually had them read an online article that
So they should know what the
they should
Weinstein
know
effect
that, in fact, yeah, they should know what the Weinstein effect is, and they should know that a mass shooting is defined by 4 people injured, not killed, but 4 people shot in a situation by definition of this website that I sent them to read the data. Any other questions?
Can you lock out your the responses?
Yes,
So you can start having discussion if people aren't going back and
100%.
changing.
Yep, as soon as I hit the lock, there's no more, I can't take any more, and people can't change their answer. And some people will change their answer. Once they start to see that they might be wrong, they can change it. And I do allow them to sort of flex in and out and decide, again, because I'm not collecting data per se to give them a grade on it. As I understand the software and the way that it works, you could very easily use this in real time, and you could give them a grade. If you had 10 questions and you said you're going to respond on your cell phones, every one of you that downloaded would have an account, and I would be able to record who said what. And I could use it as a mode of testing. I don't, but.
Are there issues about, have you had are there students that don't have smartphones?
So according to the website, you can also text in an answer. You've used it. I probably should have asked. I apologize. How many people have used Poll Everywhere or this software? Yeah.
And they can text it.
You can text it in. So even like a flip phone could work. I have not had anybody say that to me yet.
Yeah, I know
But-
those students do, but.
Yes, no, for sure. But I think that's an absolutely fair. That's a fair question.
So here's my cynical question. What's their business model? Are they collecting analytics that if this person from this IP answers 4 mass shootings and women are over-sexualized, that they're using that? Or is it they're just simply trying to get people to say, oh, wow, I'll upgrade to a paid version and get additional tools?
Yeah.
Or both?
Yeah, it's interesting. Based on the different individuals and the participants, as it relates to it, I mean, there is a 2-minute video that they play. It's kind of tongue-in-cheek that talks about how the program works and how they gather their information. But that's a great question. Anything over that many responses does require a paid subscription.
I do. I mean, the reason is in teaching an online class, I did not use Poll Everywhere, but I asked people to participate in some other third-party things. And there were a couple of people who refused to do it because they didn't know what was going to happen to their data.
Oh, that's a great question.
And,
you know what?
and not that I think our students are discerning enough to understand that. They text everything.
Yeah,
But,
that's a great question.
But that might be something to think about is
Absolutely.
where does the data go?
Right. I think that's a great question. And I think, I should dig more deeply into that and how they use the data, especially for sort of in this particular setting.
Do you know how much a paid subscription is?
So they have them, pricing is here, and you can, so it's interesting. So when you look at it, there's business and nonprofit plans. We're sort of as an introductory level. This has an audience size of 25. I am free, and it allows me 40 responses. Some of them are by student. You can do it annual. Here's the higher education. Sorry, I was in business and nonprofit. So higher ed is free. You get 40. Your audience can be as big as 40. If you have a student, if you make it part of your, course and your class, each student pays $13.99 a year to have an account and sort of work through it that way. But again, you can see that institution, university-wide. But it has been a fun class discussion. And again, the fact that your smartphone can communicate. You can send emojis, you can send, I mean, there's several different ways to, how are you feeling today? I've gotten, like I said, a range of emoji responses. Some positive, some not so positive, but it can be done. I would recommend trying it once. It's an interesting thing, and the students they perk up when I'm trying to find a way to do, and honestly, the Think, Pair, Shares I've tried, I try to do as many as I can to get some sort of outside of the regular confines of a lecture. This seems to be, and I've asked them, I said, would you like a poll or not like a poll? Yeah, pull up the poll. So I suppose I could poll on whether they like polling, but I hadn't thought about doing that yet. I could do
Amanda
that.
said that she participated from her office and everything comes up. So it's kind of nice.
Yes.
I know one of the sessions that we're having next semester, people who are Zooming all of their class sessions so that athletes who are gone, who could be in real time watching it, are able to do this as well. And
I think that works particularly because of the handle that's at the end of it, right? You don't have to be in the room, but your data is being collected because you've got this particular poll is in. Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you
And
so
if
much.
anybody wants anything, please let me know. I'm happy to help you set up your first poll if you would like.
Will you share
Yes, absolutely. Oh, for sure. I'll just send you the PowerPoint. Sure,
Will
absolutely.
will you send that to Jody too, and then we'll
Sure.
put both of them up online along with the
Absolutely.
video, Jason, in case you need it?